Welcome, Carolyn, to the Raw Couch. And for all the listeners and viewers at home, we have this beautiful, authentic woman named Carolyn joining us. And funny story on how we met. We actually met outside of Fitzray's, downtown London, Ontario, Canada. And we just got talking, and your vibe, you just had this vibe. And then all of a sudden, you tell me that you're a criminal defense lawyer. And I'm like, really? Like, are you even old enough to be that? Like, you just didn't give off the lawyer vibe. And
Barely legal.
But as I got to know you, I just remember going in the bar and you were dancing and you were just like so free and open, and I just loved it. I'm like, I need to get to know this woman. So here we are.
Yeah, now we're friends.
Now we're friends. Cheers.
And then the last time we saw each other was at Joe Cool's.
Yes.
After the Fight to End Homelessness.
There's a theme here.
Yeah.
Bars, right?
And we're very social people.
We are. The Fight to End Homelessness. I wasn't going to go here quite yet, but you know what? Let's just because you brought it up. So you trained for 6 months.
4 months, so
4
18
months?
weeks.
Okay.
The preamble to before
Tell
the
us a
fight.
little bit about this.
Yeah, so I found out about it from Brett Lucier and
Who's
Crystal
going to be a
Lee
guest
Moore.
on here tonight?
Is he? Yeah, awesome. And we were both top 20 under 40. So
Amazing.
that's how I found out about it. And I thought, oh yeah, this sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, fighting, fun, right? Boxing and then the cause is so great for ending homelessness, which is something that's near and dear to my heart as a criminal lawyer, because many of my clients struggle with housing insecurity and sort of issues related to that.
Right.
So I thought this is going to be a great thing to get involved in. So I applied and then started training, which was great. It was Tuesday and Thursday nights from 7 to 8 at Boomer's Boxing Gym.
Right.
And it was so nice to get into that environment, meet new people, sort of everyone's coming together for this cause, and then working so diligently, fundraising, and then
You
having the
raised
fight.
quite a bit of money, did you not?
Yeah,
$600?
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
Just over that, and my goal was 5,000, so I was pretty impressed to do that. I was nervous about fundraising. I hate asking people for money,
Right.
so it was good. People really stepped up and came together for this cause.
It is such an incredible event, and like you said, for such a great cause. But for people that know nothing about it, like it is like full on boxing in a ring, and you go at it, and there's blood, and yeah.
Yeah, 3 1-minute rounds and then a minute break in between, but it was a lot of fun.
Are you still on a high from that?
Like yes and no. Kind of, it's like, when things kind of pass, you're like, okay, on to the next thing. What's the next thing? I don't know. I guess maybe for me, I'm not really like a reflective type. I'm like, what do I have to do next?
Right.
Like, what's the next thing?
Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself. That was a fundraiser that you got involved in and that we connected over again, but you have 2 sons.
I have a son and a daughter.
A son and a daughter, sorry.
Yeah. So my son will be 13 in January, and then my daughter just turned 8.
Wow. And are you a single mom, or you?
Yeah.
And how's that journey been?
It has been, it's turned out for the best. I thought like growing up, I was always like, I just want someone to love me as much as I love them.
Right.
And then, finding that in your younger years, I think is hard because you're still discovering who you are as a person. And then, so I went to McMaster for my undergrad. And I did a double major in philosophy and communication studies. And then I went to UBC for law school. So then in my first year is when I met my kid's dad.
Okay.
And then it was sort of like at the summer, we met, and I was like, yeah, I really like this guy. And so we dated for a couple of years, and then we weren't planning to get pregnant, but then it was like, okay, well here it is, and I've always wanted to be a mom, so we gave it a go for a number of years, and then I thought it was important for my son to have a sibling, because I'm a sibling of 3. I'm the oldest.
Are
of 3.
you? Okay.
So I love the sibling dynamic. I'm really close with my brother and sister still, and I love that idea. So and then in the end, towards the end, they were just relationships are hard, and it didn't work out between the 2 of us, but we're still good as co-parents, and so it's good in that way.
I love hearing that. So, okay, what does authenticity mean to you?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this. One of my colleagues and friends, Michelle, said to me once, she was like, "Why do you have your filter on your Zoom thing? You're like the most authentic person I know. Why would you filter yourself?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, I don't know. Turn filter off." Like,
Right.
but I guess, I think being authentic is just following your heart,
Right.
right?
Let's go back just for a sec because that is something that has come up a lot. People have said, your podcast is raw. Like, why are you done up? Like, why are you wearing makeup? I'm authentic in what I speak and who I am as a person. So because I have lipstick on or makeup on doesn't mean I'm not authentic. And we all love using filters once in a while, right? So it
Yeah.
doesn't mean we're not genuine, authentic people. It's just there's filters available to us. So
Well, and I think like, especially as women, we're judged on our appearance more.
yes.
Like it's this perception of flawlessness in a way, right? And so yeah, you can be authentic in your words, and you can also be authentic in yourself while wearing makeup. I kind of think of it as war paint sometimes,
Yes.
right? I mean, cheers to all the men who go out every day not wearing makeup, so
Right?
vulnerable,
Yes.
right? You like every flaw revealed.
Right.
Right? But I mean, I think for men, there's less of an expectation that beauty is one of your, attributes or central focus of who you are or your value to society.
So, have you struggled with that along the way, like becoming a mom? Like, we don't look the way we did before kids, right?
I'm
And
still good on that.
yeah, you're like, damn, yeah, girl, I do. No, but have you struggled with that, especially in the career that you're in? You're a powerful, strong woman and you're sexy and all those things. Like, do you feel you're at a disadvantage being a woman in the field that you're in?
No, not at all. I think, I mean, for me, it's not as much like the body, but maybe more like acne. I like get these breakouts on my chin, and that has definitely been a struggle, like for self-esteem at times, right? Because it's like, why am I getting these breakouts? And I don't feel as confident as I otherwise would with like clear skin,
Right.
right? That one, but being a lawyer, I think it's an advantage to be a woman in many respects because you get a different perspective on things, right? Particularly with a sexual assault case, you've
Right.
got, it's predominantly male accused and female complainants. And so to be able to cross-examine a complainant who's a woman, you can understand where they're coming from a lot better and be more effective in presenting a balanced cross-examination that is going to be more effective than, for example, an older male lawyer who might come at this with maybe more mythical or stereotyped assumptions on how a victim of sexual assault should behave.
Right. So, question for you, and I don't know if you can speak about this, but your hardest case, like what is something that, like, twofold is the question. Hardest case, but how do you not let the cases affect you? Because you're in some major emotional things that you're seeing, right? So, how do you not bring that home with you?
Yeah, so I think in terms of hardest case, there's a couple different elements to it, right? So the ones that I find the most challenging are where the clients are the most challenging. So some clients are really easy to get along with, right? They understand there's the process that you're going through. Here's you get full disclosure. So you see, here's what the Crown would rely on. Here's the statements that different, potential witnesses have given. And here's the elements of the offense. And so for me, a lot of it is this rational analysis. So you say, here's what the law is. Here's what these witnesses would say. You get a version from your client that can, challenge those particular perspectives. And then you make the argument to the judge. And so it's kind of like putting together different pieces of a puzzle. And then this whole puzzle is going to form the big picture of reasonable doubt.
Okay.
So dealing with someone who is questioning you at every step, why did you do this? Why did you say that? Like you didn't do this, you didn't do that. You need to ask this question in this way. That's very confrontational. And it kind of, they're questioning your ability or questioning your capacity as a lawyer. And that I find really difficult, not as much as the nature of the charges, right? Because everyone is entitled to a defense. Everyone has the right to be represented. And even if at the end of the day they're found guilty, that's not up to me. My job is to present the facts in the most favorable way possible for them to make sure that, if it's an assault case or a sexual assault case, have we explored every issue of consent or self-defense or defense of other person or anything like that? And, in other cases, is there a potential defense of not criminally responsible or something like that, right? But that's what my job is, to make sure everyone has a fair defense. The outcome is not my job.
So again, because I'm pretty ignorant to this and not really knowing the ins and outs, but what if my assistant Beth came to you and she said that she was sexually assaulted, but you don't actually believe her? Like, you have doubt that what she is saying is actually even real. Like, what do you do at that point?
So if she came to me, she said she was sexually assaulted, I would say, okay, so here are your options, right? You can go to the police. It's up to the police to lay a charge. So they'll investigate, they'll take her statements of any other witnesses, and they'll decide if there's reasonable and probable grounds to lay a charge. If they decide that person would be charged, they're presumed innocent, and then they would go through this process, right? So her statement that she gives to the police is likely to be audio and video recorded. That would go to the accused. And then they can decide whether they're going to plead guilty or to go to trial. So I mostly represent people that are accused of crimes.
Okay.
I do also represent complainants, especially for evidentiary applications. That in sexual assault cases, there's a couple of provisions. I don't know if you remember after Gian Gomeshi got charged,
Yes.
and Marie Hennen, who is the defense lawyer, confronted these witnesses who had testified, no, I never had contact with him later. There was no collusion, anything like that. And then she presented, well, here's all these letters, essentially impeaching their credibility and reliability.
Right.
And so now, since that time, Parliament has introduced new provisions where if the defense wants to introduce evidence of third-party records that are in the possession of the accused, they have to bring an application, and then the complainant is entitled to counsel, and they get to take a position on the introduction of these messages into evidence. So there's a whole
Process.
yeah, there's an evidentiary scheme that's in the criminal code about that. So I'll represent complainants in that, or as well, if she wanted information about what's this process going to be like, what is it like to have to testify, and then I can give that information too.
So did you always know that you wanted to be a lawyer, or like
No.
what led you down this path? Like
At first I thought I wanted to be an astronaut.
wow.
Yeah. like being weightless. That sounds like really fun,
Fun.
right? And then I thought I would want to be a psychologist or psychiatrist because I really like to help people.
Right.
But then you have to take stats,
Right.
and that's just a hard no for me.
Right.
So I was out at that point. So that's why I minored in it, and then did the double major in philosophy and communication studies.
Right.
It's like more language based. But then, all of these three things kind of tie into exactly what I do now.
Right.
So you've got the psychology of people, right? Why do people do what they do? And especially with mental health issues or things like that come up a lot in, when people are charged with criminal offenses. It's, sometimes there's, other things that are going on that are leading those people to be before the criminal justice system more often.
So how do you just spoke about mental health. Like, how do you take care of your own mental health? Because what you do is heavy, right? And it's intense from my understanding. So how do you take care of you?
So I love to do yoga.
Do you?
Yeah, and then I think I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing. So I don't really think about the heavy aspects of it too much. I'm very logical and in my approach, and it's like, okay, well, here's what it is, and then the client gets to decide how. You provide your instructions. Here's the risks and the benefits of each potential option. You provide your instructions, and then away we go, and then we'll see.
Okay, just very black and white.
It's very black and white, yeah. Although there's many shades of gray, right?
Right.
And that's, but in terms of the analysis, right? I don't get caught up in the morality of it, right? So
Right.
even if I didn't believe someone, it doesn't matter
Right.
It's can the Crown prove it?
Would you say that you're a religious person or a spiritual
No.
person? No. Nice.
Like definitely atheist.
Yeah.
I don't believe in God. Spiritual, I guess maybe spiritual, but it's I think more in like laws of nature kind of way. Like I think there's certainly like this universal pattern kind of like when you look at like the neurons of the brain or the way like your veins go or the branches of a tree or the roots of the tree. There's all of these like laws of nature that are acting on everything. So I don't believe in a higher power or like that's controlling or omniscient or something like that that's looking out over, and I don't believe in like a heaven or a hell or anything like that. I think it's
So what do you believe in?
science, I guess.
Yeah. So when you die, do you believe that you could go anywhere, or you just said no, heaven,
No.
no, just you're
Yeah,
you're
it's
just
like
gone.
into the ground. And like, the animals can eat the grass and whatever, and then your energy could be in there. Like there's like energy,
Right.
but not like, yeah.
Interesting. So what helps you get through tough times? Like if you don't have a faith or something that you kind of go to, what helps you deal?
I don't know. I guess just like my family, my support groups. Like I'm really close with my family. My kids are there, and it's like,
Nice.
just like snuggle up or
Oh,
yeah.
that's
There's
sweet.
like I've got a really great group of friends, and so
Did you have a good childhood?
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like definitely privileged in many ways. Um, my family's from London, like many generations. Like on Windermere Road, there's Spencer Hall.
Okay.
So my grandmother's Carolynn Spencer, and she was married to the Colonel Conron, and then my grandmother's father was a general. So there's like this long
There's a lot of
military
history.
history. They're involved in like the founding of Imperial Oil, and so there's this sort of like intergenerational wealth and
Right.
privilege that I sort of grew up with. So yeah, so in many ways I had a great childhood, and then when I was sort of in grade 5, there was this bit of a rift in the family. And then, so my childhood home was where the Tetherwood Spa is now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Love
And
it.
then when my siblings and I grew up, and it was like the whole Tetherwood subdivision was being built, but that was basically the family lands up until my grandmother sold it.
Wow.
And so then, but then, yeah, and then there was this sort of rift, and then we moved from that home. And then in grade 7, my parents separated. In grade 8, they got divorced, and that was like definitely a traumatic event in my life because there was a lot of animosity in that.
Right.
So,
If you were to be asked, what's been the most raw moment in your life, what would that lead you to? Sort of that aha moment, or
well, I don't know. Like it's hard to say. I think there's been a lot of them, right? There's, the whole breach of trust of like, your family's everything. You'll always have that.
right,
And then to have that rift, and then the trust of like, who can you trust, right? Or like people are saying, I'm going to control this aspect of your life or that aspect. But I think, then there's also alcoholism runs in my family. So I always was like, oh, well, I guess maybe like drugs could be okay. So
Right.
then I started smoking weed in grade 9, and that sort of led me down this path towards criminal law because I thought, well, why should I be a criminal for, smoking weed? This is harmful or inherently wrong or bad, and why should this be a crime? So I think a lot of my high school, I was very rebellious, and just because of this like trauma of the divorce and the separation and the way that everything shook out that way.
right,
But then it led me to this sort of individual rights, individual freedoms, and advocating for, particularly with cannabis legalization. So my master's in law, which I did after, so I went to UBC, was called to the bar there. At the end of my articling is when I found out I was pregnant.
Wow.
And then moved back here. And then when my son was 9 months old, that's when I started my master's in law. And my thesis was on Canada's medical marijuana regulations. So it kind of like came full circle. And I worked at Community Legal Services to sort of assist people who were ineligible for legal aid but couldn't afford a lawyer. And then so I sort of got into the legal landscape in that sense. And that was because I was doing my master's on Canada's medical marijuana regulations.
Are you close to your parent? Are your parents still around?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are. So I'm very close with both of them.
Are you?
And so when my husband and I, or ex-husband and I, was split in 2019, I moved in with my mom.
Okay.
And then lived with her, and then I bought her house, and then she retired and moved out, but she's like comes back to visit all the time. So right now she's home watching the kids.
Is she?
Yeah, so we've got a spare room for her. She's home like pretty frequently. She retired. She was a teacher
Okay.
at BL, and then she retired, and now she's back all the time. So and then my dad lives in Florida, and he's married to an amazing woman too, and so for a long time we were a bit estranged, and there was a lot of animosity in that relationship. But when I got pregnant with Colin, then that's when I reconnected with my dad. And then we've really sort of worked over the years to reestablish our relationship. And I was visiting him in Florida like not too long ago for my daughter's 8th birthday. So she wanted to go to Florida. So we
Nice.
took a little trip down there. But yeah,
Awesome.
so I am close with them now, but they're not close with each other.
No. That's all right. That's all right. If I was to ask you who your ride or die would be,
Myself.
ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
Just
I
count
mean-
on yourself.
I mean, there's a lot of people that I would consider that, but I couldn't name just one.
Right.
And I think over the years it kind of shifts and changes, and yeah. So I mean, I think at the end of the day, we live as we die alone, and then you got yourself.
Yeah, I like that. So, this is a great question for a lawyer. If you were put in jail and no reason why, like nobody knew why, why do you think your friends and family, like what would your friends and family think is the reason that you're arrested?
It's just like too tough to choose just one. I mean, alarming Her Majesty is no longer a crime, but you've seen me dance at Fitzroy's.
Yes, I have.
So, alarming, I don't know. Can't say.
Can't say.
Can't say. I mean, I know what all the laws are, so I'm very careful to obey them.
Oh, there you go. Of course you are. Are you in a relationship now?
I am, yeah. Yeah, I've been in a relationship for 1.5 years with a wonderful man named Will Gordon. He owns Throw London. It's like an
Okay.
axe and knife throwing venue.
Awesome.
And then he also works designing municipal wastewater treatment systems with Trojan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I've met him
Yeah,
at the Fight To End. Yeah. Lovely man.
I know, he's
You
great.
guys, you made him dance. It was crazy, but I love it. I love it.
Oh yeah,
Um,
he's got lots of funny dances. We were at Poacher's Arms last night, and he beat me at pool, and he did this funny little dance.
Okay, something that maybe not everybody knows about you. Well, and I'm just newly getting to know you. You're a rapper and a poet.
Yeah, that's
And
true
you
too.
didn't even know it. So, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Can you do a rap about Raw?
So freestyling is not my style.
It's
I'm
not you.
Yeah, I'm a very sort of.
Come on, give us
I
something.
won't do it about Raw, but
Okay, do it about something
I can do something for you.
Okay.
Okay, but where's the beat? Though? Like, it's like you just want me to a cappella this?
Yeah, guys. Like, do you guys have a beat back there? Brett. I can't. Yeah, you're gonna acapella it.
All right. I saw Brett commented this on my phone,
Yes,
so
I
I
know
was
he's-
expecting you would do that.
Yeah.
So, sheltered from the quarries of life, eroded chatter, engorging the gorgeous lips of the lip smacker, sputter and spatter, wonder why it all matters, at the heart of it all still scatters. Unbuttoning babies, unbelievable chi, exploring fine details that may come to be, seductively smart with a real kind heart, I feel you when we have to part.
Love it. Did you just is that memorized or that?
Yeah,
you
that's something I wrote.
Oh,
I
okay.
memorized. I'm telling you, I'm
But
not a freestyler.
I know,
It's
but
like-
still.
Yeah. So like my in my poetry or lyrics. So basically, I got into this, but it's very dense lyrically.
Right.
So a lot of my stuff. So I got into it from a neighborhood band.
Okay.
So when I was living in the Old East Village, I had a neighbor who would every Thursday have people over to his house, and we would get into the basement and just there's the band there, and I have a pretty good lyrical memory. So I started off just doing songs that I already knew, and they really encouraged me to say like, well, just write some of your own stuff, like do some original stuff. So then, and I've been writing for a long time, like,
Right.
Looking back in my undergrad years or whatever, I had all these like, the angst. So good to like write it down. And so I had all these poems that I had written, and then they did the music, right? So it starts off like a little bit of drums, then the bass, and then the guitar comes in, right? And then, so then it would be, you've got, some lyrics, and then and then I come in with the raps. I've got it like all on my phone of
Do
all
you?
these things that I write out, and then and then just like insert it in there.
Love it. Is this like kind of something that you do regularly, or is it just
So we used to do it every Thursday, and then my band has been involved in Courthouse Rocks for the last number of years.
Wow, yes.
Yeah, and then so back in March of this year, 2020, yeah, back in March of this year, I was in a 7-week jury trial on a human trafficking case. And that basically just hijacked my life. And so I had to just say, I'm focusing exclusively on this. And then I had moved out of the neighborhood in 2019. And then,
Things just kind
Malcolm had moved out of the neighborhood. Sean moved out of the neighborhood. Tony, like same, but and then Rich, same, like he's kind of in the neighborhood, but it's like now we've all kind of dispersed around the city more, so it's not as easy as getting together. We had a jam space over at Dundas and Adelaide where that the Old East Village Mosaic is.
Yes, yes.
So we were renting out space in that the shed there, and then it was just, as time went on, everyone kind of got really busy, and so we are not currently actively rehearsing. And then we missed Courthouse Rocks this year, but
Maybe I'll bring it back.
I think so, yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
That'll be so fun.
I've still been writing stuff, so.
Have you?
Yeah,
Nice. We're gonna have to hear some more of your stuff. On
yeah.
later date for sure.
yeah, definitely.
Next question for you. Friends? Do you watch Friends?
Not
you?
since it was originally aired.
Right.
I watched it like way back then.
If you could be any character, who would you be?
Ooh, I guess like maybe a mix of Phoebe and Rachel. Or no, Phoebe and Monica.
Okay.
Like, so it's like I've got the free spirit of Phoebe, and then Monica like the OCD of like, yeah, it's like regimented and like stuff like that. So I mean with my practice, I'm very detail oriented, very on the calendar, on top of everything.
Right.
But then also there's the free spirit side too. Like I love to have fun, and
Yes, you do. And I love that because you are really just free and you don't really give a shit about what anyone thinks of you and you just kind of do your thing, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, that's the way I see you personally, like what I
Yeah.
get from you. So I love that.
I think it depends on the context, right? Like I
Right.
think I have an adaptability, so I can, I've got a formal side and then a fun side too.
Which is great, right? So
Yeah, it was
balance
like
it.
maybe just being raised in that sort of more formal environment of, like going to the hunt club, and here's how you are meant to
Appropriate,
behave, and
yeah.
this is the family, and these are the expectations of you, right? And then sort of, finding rebellion against that, right? And then going on the other side and saying, well, here's that side too. And then in the end, kind of finding the balance or being able to be having both sides of that.
Right. Do you have any regrets in life thus far?
No.
No. And are you the type of girl that lives in the moment, or do you plan for future? You do plan for the future?
So it's like a little bit of both, right? So I'm very much in the moment, but I put the future in the present moment by this planning, right? So it's 4 months in advance. It's like plan for this trial prep, right? Or something like that, or write this thing. And then so I'm in the moment, I'm doing it in the moment. I'm not worried about the end date, but by the time the end date comes, then I've already done the work in the moment. And then I can just be in the moment.
Right. Do you have either personal or business goals that you really want to achieve that, like, is there a trip that you just are dying to go on, or like just those kinds of goals, personal goals?
Well, I get to travel a fair bit. I'm actually speaking at a conference in Vegas in May.
Nice.
And then I'm attending another CPD session in Cancun in January, at the end of January. And I just went to Florida. So,
Beautiful.
yeah, so I've got it all.
So you get around.
Yeah.
Okay, last question for you. If you could bring everybody into a room that you have ever met, dead or alive, and you could only look for one person, who would it be?
I think my mom's mom, my grandma Verna, she died when she was in her 50s, like very young. And I really didn't get to know her too well as an adult. So
What would you ask her?
say same things you're asking me. Like,
Really?
tell me about yourself. What are your hopes and dreams? And you know, my mom was telling our family this the other night. We were all together, and she said, you know, she and her husband, my grandfather, got together when they were, I think, 13, 14. You know, they were married. They both shared the same birthday, February 13th. They got married on that day. They had their first child at 18, and then 4 kids after that. But then she was diagnosed with cervical cancer, and she died in, I think, 51, and my grandfather died at 52. So they were both in their 50s when they died, and
Wow.
you know, with 4 kids, and my mom was the only girl of 4, so she ended up taking on a lot of that responsibility of the family. But she, you know, and I have vague memories of my grandma, but I never really got to know her as a person or as an adult. And I would say, you know, what were your hopes and dreams for your life, and were you happy with how it turned out? What are you most proud of, I think?
I lied. I have more questions now because it's just triggered me to ask you a couple more. Do you have like someone that's your hero that you look up to?
My mom.
Your mom.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, she's a really strong person. She always encouraged me to just get an education, and no one can ever take that away from you. Okay? She's always been there to support me and to be there for me. Like when you know, another raw moment is growing up, I always wanted to be a boy. So I started off like just cutting my hair when I was probably 6. JK, I cut off both my French braids. I cut off both my brother's hair, and I always wanted to be a boy. So it was that, and she and my dad also. They just, you know, they let me be me, right? It wasn't like you have to do this or that or the other thing, and so you know, I definitely appreciate that. And then, you know, around grade 6, 7, I was like, like I don't like boys, and so maybe I'll like. Right. And again, the appearance thing.
Right.
Right. Is like if you know, it's like you can, there's a lot of privilege that comes with certain appearances.
Right. So you've spoken about privilege and the way you were brought up. So being someone that is a white woman and has been very privileged in your upbringing, how do you balance that, especially raising a daughter yourself? Like, how do you make sure that your kids know what the value of hard work is?
Oh, it's hard, especially in today's society where it's like iPad and TV and instant gratification, right? And so, I mean, my kids have their own bank accounts, and so if there's, I'll get them the basic stuff, but if there's something that they want that's above and beyond that, I say, well, it's with your own money.
Right.
And my son's a real saver. So he's got like, $120 in his account, right? And my daughter, she did yard work the other day. So she worked for an hour and a half to raking leaves and sweeping leaves to get some money in her account. And now she spent it all on Toco World stuff. So I'm like, listen, by the way, you have $4 in your account now. Like you have to, you can't spend any more until you do more work.
So that's great as a mom that you are doing that, but are there times where you just kind of give them whatever they want, or?
Well, all the time.
Yeah.
I hate to say no to them. It's like, I mean, obviously you have to set boundaries and stuff like that, but it's definitely a challenge. Like it's, like with kids, they're they're so smart, right? They know all the right buttons to push, and they're like, well, but you said this the other day, and like, you're like, yeah, I know, but like now do this thing I'm asking you, like put away your laundry, do your whatever, your homework. Help me make the lunches because I'm making these lunches for you. You guys, you're the
You
ones
need
that are
to-
eating these. Like, come
Right.
on.
So, having been raised the way you were, and it sounds like, there wasn't anything that you couldn't have, did your parents do a good job not giving you whatever you wanted? And do you actually appreciate, and I don't mean to be like, I don't know you well enough, but you seem level-headed and not like uppity. And, but do you actually appreciate?
Well, so I've always had jobs. So I worked as a babysitter. I had a newspaper delivery route. I worked as a Dickie D.
Tickety-dee.
Yeah, in grade 8, I went over to Dorinda Street and dropped off my resume. The guy's like, "What do you want a resume for?" Like, no, you're hired. And then grades 9 through 12, I worked at Western Food Services, doing food services, and then same thing at McMaster when I was in undergrad. I worked in food services, and then I was also a TA. And then at UBC, in my first year, I had 3 jobs. I was working as a tutor for visiting scholars from Korea, and then in food services, and then also at the Chan Center for Performing Arts as an usher and bartender.
Wow.
So I've got definitely a strong work ethic. That's for sure. So I think, there's the privilege in terms of opportunity, but I think you don't just get to keep that because you get in the door, right? You have
Right.
to have hard work to maintain and keep that.
I love that. Love that. I'm glad to see that you're a strong woman.
Yeah.
And have you found that hard in relationships? Because a lot of men say they want strong women, but they don't know what to do with us. Like, honestly, sometimes they're just like, they just don't know what to do. So have you, because you are a very strong woman and you know what you want and you say what you need. And so,
I don't think so. Like, I think not in any of my relationships. I've always felt that, my personality wasn't a problem. I'm not the problem. They're the problem. But this is like there's a supportive partner or no partner at all.
right.
And I think maybe like from my own mom, she wasn't afraid to say, you can do what you want, and I'm supporting you, and you don't have to stay in any relationship that you're not happy in. So, without judgment, I think it's maybe my strong personality just like deterred a lot of people from even trying to start a relationship with me. But then once they get in there, like, all right,
Yeah, she's
you're-
pretty cool.
you're okay.
She's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Well, Carolyn, thank you so much for being here today and sharing a little piece of your life with us. And hopefully someone at home is listening or watching and they're going to be like, yeah, I took something from that. So
Well, thanks
Thanks,
for having
Carolyn.
me.
Yeah,
It was great to be here.